The writing on this show I've always felt very proud of. You know, I was lucky enough when I did the show I did before this, Ned and Stacy. There were two people who worked with me on that show, Tony Sheehan and David Litt, who, you know, I had relationships with after that show got canceled. David wrote this pilot with me and remained part of the show for the first 3 seasons, and Tony came aboard from the beginning and has been a hugely important part of the show, the writing staff. And then, you know, there were the rest of the writing staff that we filled out as we went. All great, and you know, everybody really had something different to contribute as far as the sensibility of the show that sort of melded, and I think the quality of the writing really stayed good, which is so important.
The writers and producers, they have a hard job. You know, I learned the hard way that it's, you know, they actually really are funny. I spent a long time going, I don't know why this is funny. I don't know why this is funny. I don't get why this is funny. Why is Carrie this? Why is Carrie that? You know, and they just must have been going, just shut up. Just shut up and say the lines, you know? But when the audience came in on Friday, very rare was I proven right that it wasn't gonna get a laugh. I mean, very rare. I mean, they had a hard job, they put up with me, they put up with Kevin, you know, and we're not the easiest people to get along with. And they did a fantastic job, they really did. I mean, I finally told them at the wrap party, you know, I guess you guys are funny.
Working with David Bickel, Chris Downey, Ilana Wernick, all of the people who came in, Dennis Reagan, I knew who they were. Rock Rubin, all of the guys and women, Amy Gershwin. Working with the same writers over a period of 9 years, we all became rather close.
The writers, you know, obviously very talented, but their writing goes as far as the page. You know, you got to make the stuff pop. That's pretty much where I come in. But yeah, it's fun. You know, we really pride ourselves on it being a smart show. You know, really cleverly written.
You know, the worst thing you can do as an actor is read a script and realize that any of the lines are interchangeable with any of the other, they're just jokes written, and that anyone could say any number of them, they just happen to dole them out this particular way. That's always a little bit depressing. This show, every character is written so specifically and so on the nose. I mean, they have the voice down, but the new characters come in and they figure their voices out really fast too. It's the talented writers who are doing it. You know, it's not an accident.
Ending the series has been hard for all of us. We love it here. We love the show, love writing for the show, and we've all really become a family. And we just have a really good time together. So it's hard to leave that behind. And I think that hopefully comes through in the show, hopefully.
Right. I think it's the thing that's going to be the hardest is we'll see each other. We'll all be, you know, friendly still, most of us. But we're never going to work together again.
Right.
In that same exact grouping that we had, and that was a real kind of special group. I mean, Ilana and I were working together.
You could say love.
For 8 years, and with Chris for 6 years, and we're in a room together for 13 hours a day sometimes, every day, fighting a war basically with whether it's with a piece of paper or with a star or whatever it is, and we're just trying to. And you know everything about everybody, and it's like being on Gilligan's Island. We're just stuck on this island together.
But much better food.
Much better food,
not all
and no
yeah.
globetrotters.
Yes, exactly. The fact that we all worked together was a huge part, for so long, was a huge part of why the show stayed so good. You know, there was never any, you know, new people with their new ideas. You don't want
actually, there were times.
I
know some new people, and we're like, oh boy, what's this Downey character have to say? But he had good ideas. So
he did. He's very
we
good.
welcome.
He's great.
But I think that was, and you know, and the fact that the essence of the show was family conflict, and we all, you know, have wives and families, and we came in with who had a good fight with their, you know, spouse this weekend, and you know, build it into a show.
I mean, I think I said just last week. Or yesterday, I don't really remember.
Comedian.
But, what?
Like comedian. Go, last night I was at a... You weren't. What happened? Never.
No, that I feel like sometimes it's very hard to come up with stories. You have a great run, like, you know, 6, 7 episodes, and then you're stuck. But I feel like I could write for the characters forever. Because we really do just take from our lives, whether it's a fight or something that happened to us. And it also, I think, makes us feel better about if something terrible happens, you think in your head, oh, this is an episode, and then suddenly you don't feel so bad.
I can make some money out of this. Right?
And it's funny, and it's good television for people.
Yeah. Right. It's a strange way to approach problems in your life.
It
when
is.
When other people are your spouse or something is going through it and looking at like a crisis, and they see the wheels in your head turning, like,
You go, let me write this down. Hold on a second.
A lot of times people will come in and they talk about a fight they had with their wife or husband, and they say, oh, we should do that, but then, no, we can't do that because they'll see it and they'll know I brought. And yet there was stuff that I know that we all brought in that got in there, and probably, when it was airing at home, we had to distract our spouse at that moment. Hey, oh, honey, just so they wouldn't see that and get mad and throw something. If it's funny and it'll work and it'll help the show, and you're in there and it's late at night and you want to go home and you have an idea, that's all right. You know what? You deal with your wife. We're going to use this joke because I don't care if you said it to her and she threw a pot at you. We're using it.
I used to meet them at the craft service table and just to start blabbering about my life a little bit. 2 weeks later, it was an episode.
Also, we had this cast to write for who
Fantastic.
Were excellent.
Yeah.
We could put anything in their mouths and they made it great. Jerry would put spins on things. Kevin would just add so much stuff to it. And we got to a point where we would be, when we pitch ideas and they, in their voices. So we have Lonnie, this girl, going in Jerry's voice, darling, I need 2 teaspoons of honey. And this would be a girl saying this, but we're in the rhythm and we know exactly how these people sound. That's outrageous. It became second nature to us. I still think, even though it's a couple weeks removed, I'm always thinking in that rhythm of Douglas, like that. It's music of the King and Queen's music that we all know.
It's very Aaron Sorkin-esque of you.
Thank you. Okay. So I'm going for it.
Little shout out to Aaron.
Yes.
What about when he faked a heart attack because he forgot your boss's name?
That wasn't a big deal.
What about when he used your tax refund to buy an ice cream truck?
Yeah, that was my fault. I shouldn't have left the check lying around.
What about when you had to cancel your birthday trip to Paris because he was a semifinalist in a bladder bust contest?
Yeah, that was a kick in the chicklets.
Kevin was what he was when he came. It was easy to write for him. He was always kind of that character, and we developed it. But from the beginning, she was a little different. If you look in the early episodes, Leah, it was kind of like sweet and kind of lovely, like a nice. She was in love with him, and then we kind of wrote more toward what she's like off camera. She helped create the character more than anybody else, I think.
She's tough.
Horrible.
She's
She's
not
tough New Yorker, and we kind of added that kind of little meanness to her character, and that kind of developed.
Funny
and that
meanness.
became funny mean. Yes. And I think that became kind of
Yes,
her trademark,
that's true.
and that became very easy to write for then, because she's just, a little.
And that is why she's funny, because
Right.
she has that
Yes.
attitude. Yeah.
I think the other dynamics too, a lot of times they were hit or miss. Like we had Spence and Danny, Doug's cousin on the show. We were trying to find what was the dynamic that worked for them. Is it that they're these lovable losers who are out trying to meet girls, and that didn't really work? And we stumbled on, I guess, the default setting of mock gay.
Right.
Mock gay is a winner.
Mock gay. We've gone to the mock gay well many times. Besides those two characters, we've done mock gay in other
But
incarnations.
especially those two.
But
guys.
those two really
And,
work.
and their acting really in those roles, as you see, it developed from season to season, just got better and better.
And Jerry is great with anybody. I mean, the Arthur character is great with Spence, or great with Deacon. We've always been able to come up with funny little B stories for him with someone.
It's interesting too, because I always thought that there are sort of two different kinds of jokes on the show. There were sort of written jokes, which are very funny on the page, and there are performance jokes. And I used to watch, and you'd see a written joke would get a laugh the first time it was done for the audience, and then a little bit less the second time, third time. A performance joke would get laughs every single time. But at the end of season 8, there was a real question as to whether the show was coming back. As a matter of fact, we kind of went into the off season, what we call our hiatus, and there was we got phone calls. It's dead. Find another job. And
It's alive. It's alive.
That's the other one.
Really?
It's alive. Hold on, talk to each other. All right, what's happening?
It was very, and it would have been very sad because when we finished the end of season 8, we were all standing around like this could be the end of the show, but it wasn't designed that way. Nobody, for a show that's been on this long, you want it to go out on its own terms and to give it the send off that it deserves, and I feel like we did.
Now, there was a definite vibe
not
the
real.
last couple months, the last 7 episodes, because the last season there were only 13, and we did the first chunk, and then there was a break, and then we did the last. And when we came back for those last ones, it really it felt different. Felt like something was ending.
On our way to goodbye. It was like a real.
Yeah.
More than anything, what we remember is the camaraderie and having fun together and,
Yeah.
and laughing more than, you know, you would ever laugh in any other job in the world. I think that's, right? I mean, that's what you walk away from. I mean, other great little things here and there and something Jerry did and something Kevin did or whatever it is. But in reality, it's like in this building, working on those scripts is just that's imprinted and we never forget that.
Because this is where we were 80% of the time. I mean, at least that. It wasn't really down on stage. That's really the actor's home and the director and all the crew. But for the writers, we're really up in these offices and we're just together. So
that's why it was interesting that, like, when the show ended and it was, you know, people were crying and, you know, it's a wrap. It was not as emotional for me as coming back and cleaning out my office because
God, that was hard.
The offices, this is where we were. I mean, this is like, you know, David said, where we went to war every day. So.
Well, the most emotional thing for me was we have this tradition of when an episode is finished, we draw a line through, because we have a big board up of all the episodes and who wrote it, directed it, all the information for it. We draw a line through the episode, and the three of us came back here that night after the finale, and David, Vicky, whatever his name is,
She hasn't learned my name.
I haven't learned his name. It's crazy. He drew that final line through, and that was really hard. That was sad.
We had a lot of laughs. I mean, we had so much fun. And those are some of the nights that remember more than anything is the ones that we stayed up late in that war together and just laughing our asses off. So it was great. And, you know, we said when we were done, what were we thinking? How do we work together again? That's the thing.
Yes.
What can we possibly do that we kind of...
How do we keep this group together?
And hopefully...
Stay tuned.
But, yep.
Stay tuned for the Queen of Queens.
The Duke of Dutchess County.